Welcome, everybody, to the Sentinel Report. I'm your host, Alex Newman. It is a great honor and a pleasure and a privilege to be with you here as we close out the month of August. It is August 25th, 2025. So much going on in the world. We've got some very special guests joining us for this program. The man who is about to replace Senator Lindsey Graham in the U.S. Senate has some important information that he has discovered about Lindsey Graham to share with us. Turns out he's a big-time globalist. I know you're terribly surprised, but we have smoking gun evidence that is absolutely irrefutable. Also, Dr. Kirk Moore. We've talked to him before. He was the one being targeted by the Biden regime for helping to protect children from these mandatory mRNA injections that the government was forcing on everybody. They tried to throw him in prison. He was facing 35 years, and Attorney General Pam Bondi has just announced that those charges are officially being dropped. So that's very, very exciting. And folks, what's going on in the news is really, really significant. So I hope you'll stay with us. We'll start with our news segment as we always do. And we also have Andrew joining us today. But first, a word from the Word. This comes out of John 15, verses 12 through 17. The Bible reads, "This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, that someone lay down his life for his friends. You are my friends, if you do what I command you. No longer do I call you servants, for the servant does not know what his master is doing. But I have called you friends, for all that I have heard from my Father I have made known to you. You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you that you should go and bear fruit, and that your fruit should abide, so that whatever you ask the Father in my name, he may give it to you." There's a lot to say there, folks, but notice we who are friends, we do what he says, right? Kind of important little note. And also the power of prayer, folks. Just a good reminder. Before we get into our news segment, I do want to encourage you to check out our friends over at Victory Nutrition International. You can find them at vni.life/Newman. They've got a whole bunch of different products that I really love. One that I've been taking every day now is called Ensorb. It's for digestion. It's got all these enzymes. It's got amylase, protease, lipase, protease, glucoamylase, and these things, I mean, they're really, really helpful for digestion. It's just some great, great stuff, folks. So I'm going to encourage you to try it out. And even better, if you go there today and use the promo code Newman20, that's Newman20, Newman 20, you're going to get a 20% discount on all of these different products. They've got the hydration therapy, the Ensorb, the Vitality, so much good stuff. And then, of course, the Trim Rocks, too, that taste like Pop Rocks, and yet they're super healthy. Just so much good stuff there, folks. So go check it out, vni.life/Newman. And don't forget to use that promo code Newman20 to get a 20% discount on all the great stuff they've got there. Also, stay with us for our first guest. Incredible new movie, Unrestricted War, exposing the CCP. It is a narrative. It's a story, but it's inspired by true events, and we've got the director joining us for all that. Now, folks, going to the news segment, something really, really significant is happening in the Pentagon, and I'll tell you what, I am very, very grateful for it. Our Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, I had the privilege of working with him on the Miseducation of America series on Fox, and of course, he endorsed our book, Indoctrinating Our Children to Death. He said this, Alex Newman's book brings out critical information on the history of the U.S. education system that must be broadly understood by Americans. If we're going to turn our country around, we must address these issues now, and this book is a great start. That's part of what he had to say. But he's a really great American. And, you know, with so many of these people in Washington, they talk one way when they're on the TV camera and then a totally different way when they're not. But Pete Hegseth seems to me to be the real deal. And I want to show you this little clip that we've got of him pushing back on the attacks about his Christian prayer service taking place at the Pentagon. And of course, we have Andrew Muller, Chief of Operations here at Liberty Sentinel, and also contributor to the New American, to break it all down with us. So let's roll that clip and we'll come back right back with Andrew.
It's interesting. The question is, I've gotten some criticism for hosting a Christian prayer service at the Pentagon yesterday. We said it very publicly. We said it very proudly. Appealing to heaven, to God, is a long-standing tradition in our military. I'm very proud that we're starting a monthly voluntary service at the Pentagon. George Washington was on bended knee with the troops, praying for God's providence and protection in that moment. Chaplains and ministers and Christians and people of faith across generations have prayed because of the business that we're in. I mean, the business of the 82nd Airborne, and you watch that 911 button for the country, is a dangerous one on behalf of all of us. And we appeal to God. I appeal to Jesus Christ for that protection. And we're going to speak that word and be open and willing to talk about that at the Pentagon. If they want to criticize that, they're on the wrong side.
They are definitely on the wrong side. Andrew, what do we make of this? I mean, why are the lefties and the tyrants and the God haters so upset that people are praying to our Creator in circumstances like this?
Because it works, Alex, and it has real effects. And they, even if they, don't like our country, or maybe they do like our country in some weird, warped way, they understand that praying and appealing to heaven and having a nation that respects and honors God is going to bring about a revival and a moral awakening that they don't want. And I heard this the other day, Alex, and I think it's worth sharing that I live in a very military dense area in Florida. There's a big military base a few minutes from my house, and my wife, she works in physical therapy, and she gets a lot of spouses for colonels and generals, etc. And she said, you won't believe how many people come in and talk to me, and they're always talking smack about Pete Hegseth. She said they're always talking about how much they hate Pete Hegseth, and it's the Christian stuff that he says that just drives them up a wall. And she says it's just like they have this intrinsic hate for him because he's a Christian. You have to wonder why that is. I think it's very deeply spiritual. But what Pete Hegseth was saying is so true. He said we have a longstanding history in our country of honoring and respecting God. And I went back and looked into this, Alex, because I'm very interested in this subject. And General George Washington, 1776, when he was the general of the Revolutionary War, after he had the Declaration of Independence read to his troops, he said this, quote, all commanding officers of each regiment are directed to procure chaplains, persons of good character, exemplary lives, and to see that all inferior officers and soldiers pay them suitable respect and attend carefully upon religious exercises. The blessing and protection of heaven are at all times necessary, but especially so in times of public distress and danger. And Alex, as you know, that's just one quote out of thousands that you could pull from General George Washington and our founding fathers, where they emphasized prayer, petition to the holy God of the Bible to protect this country, to defend it, and to provide providence, God's hand of protection over this nation to direct and guide it. And that is what Pete Hegseth is doing. And as he said, if you're against that, I think you're on the wrong side, because what this is about is returning to the roots of our nation, which are Christian roots. And I'll add one more thing. There's this great book I have here, The Maxims of Washington. This is a compilation of quotes and everything from Washington. You got to get a copy of it before the 1970s, or otherwise it's going to be butchered. But it goes through and it talks about what people said around Washington, people that knew him, what they said about him. And there were some quotes I thought were so interesting. A gentleman named Jared Sparks, who was a Christian evangelist in the 1700s, he said it was Washington's custom to have prayers in the camp while at Fort Necessity. Another guy said he was constantly attending public worship. During the war, he would frequently rode 10 or 12 miles from camp, attended public prayer and worship, and encouraged the troops to do the same. Quote after quote after quote. This is what made America great, Alex. And I think we're starting to see a revival of that. And that's why the radical leftists are so upset. And I'd love to get your thoughts on this too, Alex, because I think that if our military doesn't have a religious code, if our military service members and the people calling the shots for our military don't have a religious ethos, a Christian reason for why they're doing what they're doing, we'll end up participating in wars. We'll end up participating in military involvements that are maybe hurting fellow believers internationally. I mean, what are your thoughts on this? What is the consequence of not having a religious or moral framework to our military apparatus? Would that affect the wars we engage with?
No question. I just think of the words of Jesus. He's quoted in the Gospel of Luke and in the Gospel of Matthew, saying, "You're either with me or against me." And like Pete said, you don't want to be on the wrong side of that, right? Yes. He said the words "appeal to heaven," and of course that was a very well-known phrase during our founding. They actually flew "appeal to heaven" flags because they had tried appealing to the king, they had tried appealing to the parliament, they had tried appealing everywhere, and everything failed. So they appealed finally to the creator, the judge of the universe. And of course, they were successful in their quest. I'm grateful that they did. And we need to bring that back. What do you want to appeal to hell? What's your problem with appealing to heaven? It's just, for me, it's just bonkers. But I want to turn across the pond now, Andrew. Big things happening over in the UK. The UK, of course, we did declare war on them. We did appeal to heaven for help liberating ourselves from them. But we learned a lot from them. I mean, let's be honest. Our founding fathers didn't invent all this stuff. They were inspired by the Magna Carta, by what came out of the English Civil War, even going back to King Alfred. Um, England has been a historically Christian nation for over 1,000 years now. It's been officially a Christian nation. And yet the polling data shows that it has fallen off a cliff. Christians are now in the minority in the UK. But there's some really good news here that I want to share with the folks. Christianity is experiencing, according to the pollster, something of a revival. It looks like the number of 18 to 24-year-olds who believe in God has increased by almost 200% just in the last few years. That's according to the YouGov tracker. That's really encouraging. And then you have a smaller but still really important increase in the number of those who are between 25 and 49 who believe in God. That's gone up from 21% to 33% in 2025. We're also seeing an increase in church attendance. 56% of those, a 56% rise in the number of people attending church at least once a month. So some encouraging things happening. I mean, we don't want to get all too excited, but for me at least, this looks like an encouraging sign that people are finally turning where they should be turning, back to God Himself. What do you say, Andrew?
I think this is incredible. And every single issue that we talk about on this show and on other shows ultimately have a spiritual causation, a spiritual root to them. No top down fix is going to change the United States of America. It's only going to be a bottom up revival change in the hearts of the American people that are going to make this country truly exceptional and return it to its former greatness. So I think that the church has a very interesting opportunity here. I think that the church needs to look at this incoming of youth and not say, great, we're getting the youth back. Now let's, just embrace it and keep them and keep things comfortable and only talk on subjects that are, not divisive and subjects that are not going to divide the church. I hope that doesn't happen. I hope that as these young people come into the church absolutely stands for moral truth in every single aspect of life. When it comes to marriage, when it comes to politics, when it comes to family, economy, etc., the church has an extraordinary opportunity. And when you actually look into these denominations that these young people are tending to be interested in, a lot of it is Catholicism, Eastern Orthodoxy, things like that. I think young people, Alex, are really hungering for tradition. They're hungering for and starved for something that doesn't change, something that's immovable. They see this culture that we're in where you can have my truth, you can have your truth, gender can be whatever it wants. They're inundated on Instagram, TikTok, social media with this postmodern worldview that says truth is whatever you make it out to be. They're reacting to that and going to this uber traditionalism. I think that shows that my generation, I just turned 24 yesterday, as a matter of fact, my generation is reacting strongly to what has come out of the public school system, social media, and Hollywood. So the church in America has a very interesting opportunity here, and I hope they stand on truth. They don't get squishy. They don't focus on attendance numbers and attendance records and try to keep people there, but they try to teach people there and indoctrinate the youth in a good way, right? Not in a bad way. Indoctrinate youth in a good way about family, politics, and really what the Bible teaches about everything in life. And if that happens, Alex, we can have a true bottom-up change in this country that I think will make America truly great. But unless and until that happens, it won't.
Yeah, amen. And we're seeing some of these trends in the United States, right? If you go back to this YouGov data, it looks like the 18 to 24-year-old cohort now the second most likely age group to attend church every month. And actually, the increase is really being driven by young men. Back in 2018, it was just 1 in 25 young men were going to church, compared to now in 2024, last year, 1 in 5. So something huge is happening. And we know that when young men start moving back in this direction, the young ladies will follow. And so praise the Lord, folks. Be in prayer about all this, not just over in the UK, but here at home as well. Moving on to the World Economic Forum, as Klaus Schwab liked to call his baby. Obviously, this is the big global think tank that unveiled the Great Reset and all the rest. They finally wheeled Klaus Schwab off stage left. They concluded their investigation. Klaus did nothing really wrong, but they've put in a new co-chair, Larry Fink. Yeah, Larry Fink, that guy, the CEO of BlackRock, with over $10 trillion under management, tens of trillions of additional dollars kind of under his control through his supercomputer, Aladdin. This is a guy who bragged to the New York Times that he was using his influence in all these companies to bring about behavior change, to push the climate nonsense, the ESG, the DEI, the Marxism. Man, it's just really creepy. What do you make of this, Andrew? They replaced Dr. Evil with Dr. Super Evil, it seems to me.
Yeah, they're not heading the right direction, that's for sure, Alex. They're definitely compounding the wickedness. I think this is significant. So it shows the World Economic Forum's really doubling down on their mission. They haven't seen all the public backlash against the WEF and said, oh, let's pick somebody a little bit more moderate, somebody a little bit more palatable. They're like, nope, we're going to pick somebody maybe with a little bit of a better accent, right? A little more understandable, but he's going to be
harder
even
to
more
make fun
evil.
of him.
Yeah, a little harder to make fun of him. We're going to have to find something else. We're going to have to come up with a different nickname or different little catchphrase. But I do think that this is significant because it shows they're doubling down on what they want to do. And now you're also getting somebody with more complex financial connections as well. I mean, Klaus Schwab was connected, no doubt about it. But I mean, Larry Fink, it's hard to come up with somebody else who has the capital investments and the connections in the business and finance realm to the level that Fink has. So we all know that the people who run these organizations aren't necessarily the top masterminds, that, you know, they can replace the figureheads and the machine still works just as intended. But this is a step in the right direction for the World Economic Forum, a step in the wrong direction for America and really all of the free world. So people need to understand who this guy is. You actually did a great series, Alex, on exposing BlackRock for the New American Magazine. It was a series you did for the Behind the Deep State show. People should go and watch that. I think it was like maybe 5 parts or something. You'll remember. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But it was exposing BlackRock and what they do and how they buy up houses and how they have used their capital to really undermine American sovereignty, destroy the American family, and really try to destroy not only our country, but the soul of America. So Larry Fink's a really bad guy. He's worse than Klaus Schwab, in my opinion, I think, as far as track record of evil. And this is a wake-up call for the United States of America and the people therein, that these organizations aren't reformable. They aren't changeable. They're not going to be better. They're not going to get new leadership and then become righteous. They're corrupt to the core. And the only appropriate response is complete and total destruction and abandonment of them. There's no reforming it. There's no going back to the original vision. No, it's stinky and rotten to the core, and there's no fixing it. It's just moving away.
Right. And it's all those Americans like, oh, I'm just going to be influential there. No, have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but expose them, reprove them. If you show up there, expose them, reprove them, tell them the truth to their face, like the great president of Argentina, Javier Milei, or Donald Trump earlier this year. Boy, was that fun. Folks, do go check out about BlackRock. I mean, if you look at these global elitists, they're working on this 3-legged stool model. The first leg of the stool is, of course, the government. That's where they bring in the United Nations. Then you've got the second leg of the stool. That's the business sector. And it was very clearly the WEF that was leading this operation. Now they're going to be able to do it even more effectively. There's nobody more influential in a corporate boardroom today than Larry Fink. His organization, BlackRock, has the biggest stake in almost any publicly traded company that you can think of, often even the competitors, right? Coke and Pepsi. BlackRock is the most influential player there. So when they say jump, the corporate boards say, how high, master? So very, very bad, very, very bad. These people need to be exposed and they need to be stopped before they destroy everything. I want to switch gears, but time flies when you're having fun. But folks, there's so much news to share with you. I do want to get to this. This is incredible. They did an analysis of children born from mothers who had received the COVID injections. We're talking about children here who have never been vaccinated themselves and have never had COVID. They're now dying at an excess of 77% over what would be expected. Again, these are unvaxxed. These are children from vaccinated mothers. And folks, to put this in perspective, this is a 24 sigma event. Okay, sigma is a fancy way of saying standard deviation, measures how far something is from the average. 1 sigma is pretty common. 2 sigma is less common, but it still happens. 3 sigma is pretty rare, but you sometimes see it. I want to put this in perspective for you. 24 sigma is so far outside the normal range that it's essentially impossible under ordinary conditions. 6 sigma event might happen once in 500 million tries. 24 sigma is so unlikely. The odds are essentially 0 that it would happen. If you flip a coin, 10 heads in a row, yeah, probably not going to happen, but it might. 100 heads in a row, basically impossible. 24 sigma event is like billions of heads in a row without a single tails, folks. This is something that needs to be explained. What is happening to these children whose mothers followed their doctor's advice, whose mothers followed the talking heads on television and took these injections? I think we need criminal responsibility for everybody involved here. Now, going to the same issue, Robert F. Kennedy has now publicly denounced the American Academy of Pediatrics. And I'll tell you what, it couldn't have happened to a nicer group of people, right? This is the same group we reported last week. They're now calling for getting rid of all religious and philosophical exemptions from these crazy vaccine schedules in every state and in D.C. And now Robert F. Kennedy is having some really good stuff to say. He said this on X. He said the group's recommendations are corporate friendly because the AAP receives big donations from the vaccine companies like Pfizer and Moderna. The HHS secretary said that this organization ought to be disclosing its corporate entanglements so that Americans may ask whether the AAP's recommendations reflect public health interest or are perhaps just a pay-to-play scheme to promote commercial ambitions of AAP's big pharma benefactors. Kudos, Secretary Kennedy. Thank you for speaking the truth. On the same subject of healthcare, folks, really troubling. The integration of AI and healthcare is proceeding at breakneck speed. And now we've got the founder and CEO of Epic Systems, major healthcare company, a billionaire named Judy Faulkner, saying that they're going to merge AI with healthcare and create healthcare intelligence. She says this is coming very soon. They plan to look at all of this healthcare data and then figure out supposedly what's wrong with you. And folks, now you combine the education data, and I'll tell you what, I'm very, very concerned about what is happening here. A couple of quick rapid fire news. Appeals court just tossed out the $515 million fraudulent judgment against Trump for alleged fraud in that New York fraud case. Letitia James is now having her own troubles with the law, which she, of course, richly deserves. On the military front, of course, Trump has taken over Washington, D.C. Next up, he says he's probably going to take over Chicago. I want to show you a little clip of that.
Chicago's a mess. You have an incompetent mayor, grossly incompetent, and we'll straighten that one out probably next. That'll be our next one after this, and it won't even be tough. And the people in Chicago, Mr. Vice President, are screaming for us to come. They're wearing red hats, just like this.
Yeah, you know what? I'm a little bit concerned about using the military on American streets. You know, Washington, D.C. is one thing. It's a federal district. It's run by people who have no interest in protecting your life, liberty, property, or basic rights. But let's see how this plays out. I understand crime is out of control. And, of course, the Constitution does say the president can use the militia to enforce the laws of the Union. But very dangerous here, folks. So we need to watch this closely. And, of course, we will here at the Sentinel Report. There's a whole lot more that we're not going to have time to get to, folks. Maybe we'll try to save it for next episode. But I do want to encourage you, before we go to break and come back with Yen Ma, the director of Unrestricted War, I want to encourage you to check out our friends over at Genesis Gold. You know, if you read your Bible, that unequal weights and measures are an abomination to the Lord. And there's a new book out called The Bible and Gold by author Alan Armstrong. And our friends at Genesis Gold are making it available to you for free if you're interested. So get over to NewmanFaithGold.com, NewmanFaithGold.com. Their mission aligns with Armstrong's mission to bring about biblical insights into the financial realm. That's what they've built their company on. So we do want to encourage you to go get a free copy of the book, The Bible and Gold. I've been stacking little bits here and there where I could since college. It has performed very well for me. And, we want to encourage people to do their due diligence and see how they might protect their wealth, their savings, their retirement. Go check it out, NewmanFaithGold.com. They'll send you the book absolutely free, no obligation at all. And stay with us, folks. We're going to be right back after this break with the director of an incredible new movie about what the CCP did during COVID. Again, it's inspired by true events. We've got the preview and much more right here on the Sentinel Report.
Hello, everyone. I'm excited to announce the next generation of energy drinks, Rev 7. It has no sugar and no caffeine. Instead, Rev 7 uses Go BHB. Go BHB is one of the body's primary ketones, and it provides the most efficient and clean fuel that your body needs. It also helps you stay energized all day with no crashes. Not only that, it produces 3 times more brain energy than sugar, which helps boost your memory, focus, and mental sharpness. It also helps reduce stress and helps balance your mood. Rev 7 does all that while being the best tasting energy drink ever. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% today. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7. For a limited time, you get our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. I drink Rev 7 every day and I absolutely love it, and so will you.
Welcome back to the Sentinel Report. Thanks so much for staying with us, folks. Over the weekend, I had the pleasure and the privilege of watching an absolutely incredible movie. It was called The Unrestricted War. And it is, I guess, a movie, but it is inspired by true events. And it has to do with the ruthless and mass murdering Chinese Communist Party. And just some of the ways that they behave, some of the ways that they treat Westerners, some of the ways that they act to undermine liberty and health and prosperity around the world. And we're very pleased to have with us today the director and the co-writer of this film. His name is Yen Ma, and he's a film director from Toronto in Canada since 2007. He's worked as a director and as an art director. He's won quite a few awards at prestigious international film festivals. He's done quite a few movies going back to 2014. He did A Memory of the Red Wall. Quite a few others as well. And his new one is just really, really good. It's a political thriller inspired by true events during the early days of COVID-19. Yen, welcome to the program. It's great to have you. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. As I was watching this, yes, it's a movie, but I couldn't help but notice the very real parallels between what you're exposing in the film and what I know about the behavior, the ruthlessness of the Chinese Communist Party. Talk to us a little bit before we get into the film itself about what inspired this movie. What was it that the CCP was doing that inspired you to create this film?
Yeah, so it was inspired by the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic. And in this story, we mainly focus on the very early stage of the pandemic. So we wanted to reflect on how it started and how the Chinese Communist Party uses power to manipulate information and public. So eventually it turned this local crisis into a global pandemic. And also, this story, a lot of the characters are inspired by real individuals, including the whistleblower of the pandemic, who was who was arrested and confessed it on TV, and also a few citizen reporters. So yeah, and the story is based on it was grounded in a lot of research. So in the research, we kind of studied a few related events, and we realized all these events is highly aligned with the concept called the unrestricted warfare. That's how we named the film. Yeah, so it's a fictional story, but the message behind it is actually very, very real.
Yeah, and unrestricted warfare, folks, it's very real. In fact, we've got the documents. Yen, if you would, explain to folks, what does the CCP mean when they discuss unrestricted warfare? I mean, what does that look like, say, for America?
Well, unrestricted warfare is a concept that brought up by two People's Liberation Army colonels. So this is a concept that basically encouraged China to conquer their enemy by using all means necessary, all set of traditional warfare. So I think it's important to make the audience in the West be aware of this, because this invisible warfare is now actually ongoing in almost every field of our life. Because normally to us, warfare happened on battlefields for soldiers, but for this unrestricted warfare is special. It's actually everywhere. Especially nowadays, consider how close we are connected to China, and controlled by the CCP. It is something that we can't really ignore.
Yeah. I want to show a preview of this film, folks. And just before we leave this topic of unrestricted warfare, if you haven't learned about this yet, I encourage you to do so. It is very serious. And if you read some of the things in this military doctrine, I mean, everything from economic warfare to biological warfare, anything, to harm and destroy geopolitical enemies, especially the United States, short of actual shooting with bullets and bombs. And this has very real implications. It's not a hypothetical. This is a critical military doctrine. But let's cue up that preview. Let's show the preview, and then Yen, stay with us. We'll come right back after this.
Wipe her from her database and burn the body. Keep this contained, or you will join her in the furnace.
How'd you even get these numbers? That's a state secret. I'll be charged with espionage.
Then you better consider a way not to get caught, or you will lose everything of value here in China.
They both exhibit high temperatures, severe headaches, and I'm most concerned that it might be quite contagious.
Why waste a good pandemic, right, General?
You have a serious viral outbreak that can threaten the whole world.
You mean fake news?
I'll never be able to come back to China.
Right now, our safety is what matters most, nothing else.
Mama!
You saw the chaos in the hospital, right? If the party has a plan, it needs to be better.
You think you know better than the party leaders?
I need to be with my family.
They will remain there to complete your mission.
I will not commit a crime against humanity.
The war never ended for us. So to double-cross me, Dr. Conrad, is something I cannot allow.
Powerful stuff, folks. Like I said, I had the opportunity to watch the movie over the weekend. It was very, very good. I mean, Hollywood level quality, but without the crazy totalitarian propaganda and the weird gender stuff. It was just really, really good. Yen, how do people watch this movie? I know it's been licensed by NTD Television, which is a phenomenal outlet. I appear on there from time to time. Excellent work they do. How can people in America watch this film?
Right now is premiered on Ganjin World, online streaming platform. You can subscribe to Ganjin World to watch the movie, or you can also just rent the movie individually.
And how do people find that?
You can go to unrestrictedwarmovie.com for more information. There will be links there.
Okay, very good. Unrestrictedwarmovie.com. Yen, really appreciate it. What's next for you? What's your next big project? Can you give us any insight into what comes next?
We're working on a few topics still. Like this, working on Unrestricted War movie actually gave us a lot of confidence to work on more China-related topics. Because before that, we feel like it's very difficult because there's no, the film making something about China outside of China is actually hard. But after this one, because we got a lot of support from the Chinese community. And yeah, so we have confidence that we will make more very good Chinese topics.
Excellent. Well, please keep us updated. We would love to get you back as you do those. And I know the CCP has huge influence in Hollywood, but they can't control everything. So keep up the great work, sir. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for this great movie, and I hope we can talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, folks, that was Yen Ma. He is the director of the Unrestricted War. I encourage you to check it out. It's a really, really well done movie. It's not just very insightful, but it's also very entertaining. And it's a good warning for folks, too. Stay with us. We're going to be right back here on the Sentinel Report with more.
In 1776, a nation was born. Forged in the crucible of revolution, brave men and women stood together fighting for freedom, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Throughout history, the spirit of patriotism has prevailed. The battles may have changed, but the values remain the same. Today, in 2024, we find ourselves at a pivotal moment where the call for unity, freedom, and a better future echoes louder than ever. Introducing Patriot Mobile, the wireless carrier that stands with you. We are committed to supporting the values that make our nation great. With affordable plans and reliable nationwide coverage, Patriot Mobile is not just a wireless service. It's a call to action for those who believe in the American dream. Because this year is not just any year, it's the most important year since our nation's founding. Choose a wireless carrier that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile. For free activation, use promo code Newman.
Welcome back to the Sentinel Report. Alex Newman, your host here. Folks, thanks for staying with us. We have a guest who's been with us before. The story is absolutely incredible. Right? This is a doctor who was working with parents to protect children from these toxic mRNA concoctions masquerading as COVID vaccines. With full parental consent, he administered saline solutions because, of course, as a doctor, he had taken the oath to do no harm. And as anybody with two brain cells to rub together knows, at least now, those shots were causing massive risks of harm for essentially no benefit, if you want to be really charitable about it. Well, the DOJ came after him like a pack of hyenas under the previous administration, and huge news, those charges have now been dropped. I'm referring, of course, to Dr. Kirk Moore, a physician, former Navy flight surgeon. Dr. Moore, welcome to the program. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Alex, thanks for having me back again.
It's a pleasure.
Certainly under better terms or
absolutely
circumstances than the last time, right?
Yeah, last time we spoke, you were looking at a possible 35 years in a federal gulag for trying to protect innocent children and families from these unwanted concoctions. Pam Bondi made the announcement, said that you were free, gave credit to some members of Congress for really pushing hard on this. Some of the better ones, of course, Senator Mike Lee from Utah and Marjorie Taylor Greene. But talk to us about the story. I mean, a lot of the people probably didn't see our last segment. A lot of people watching or listening to us today. Give us some of the background. How did you get in hot water like this? Why did you do what you did? And what about this decision to drop the charges?
Well, look, I call it like three things that kind of raise the ire and raise my antenna up a little bit. One was when we were told there was no treatment. When I know that, something with flu-like symptoms, you're just going to do the best you can. And so you still treat people. And if it's the right thing or wrong thing, you're certainly not going to, hurt them anymore. You're going to treat their symptoms, which is what this was essentially. The second thing is when everybody in the United States, everybody in the entire world was doing the exact same thing. Okay, we don't have a treatment. Hydroxychloroquine doesn't work. Ivermectin doesn't work. Just stay home. Everybody. It was just across the board. I mean, we can't even agree what kind of potatoes we need to have for Thanksgiving dinner, and all of a sudden, every country in the world is doing the exact same thing. And so that was, I call it strike number two. And then the third one was when, nothing's going to get back to normal until we stick a needle in everybody's arm. And so that's, to me, with all the research that I'd done at that point and everything else that I'd come across, we haven't been able to find a vaccine for cancer in 100 years, a vaccine for AIDS in 40, and all of a sudden we're going to find, a vaccine for the common cold virus that has been with us since the dawn of time in less than 9 months. Those are the three things. And that's why I decided that I had to do something.
Yeah. And I'm glad you did. I wish more doctors had done the right thing rather than just go along. And of course, you've been vindicated now. The Department of Health and Human Services has now removed this COVID injection off the list of recommended vaccines, quote unquote, for children. Yes, Big Pharma and their front groups like the American Academy of Pediatricians are pushing back. But finally, some common sense. Of course, our own state surgeon general, Dr. Joe Ladapo, was clear from the very beginning that the risks from this thing far exceed any benefits. How does it feel to be vindicated? I mean, you were calling this stuff years ago while most of the medical community and the fake media were still shilling for these things. How does it feel to be totally vindicated?
Well, it feels good. It feels great for me. We still haven't solved the problem. We're still injecting, up to 25,000 kids a day on, with these shots or potentially. We're still murdering and maiming our society by doing it. The fact that there's not more people out there that are more awake and haven't woken up to this is disappointing. there's all kinds of things, but that's my motivation now. Is my next step is to get mRNA completely off the market. Yes, you're right. They did take them out of the recommended for healthy kids and for pregnant women. But then when they talk about people being unhealthy, pregnant women fall into the unhealthy category. So it still leaves a lot of leeway for the physicians, and I don't have a lot of trust in our medical profession right now for those people to do what the right thing is, which is not inject this. We don't know what we don't know what the ingredients are. We still have no concept of what the ingredients are, and nobody's willing to look at all of the objective science and data that is out there. There's almost 4,000 articles that have been published to show the deleterious and damaging effects of these mRNA shots, and yet people just still kind of have a blind eye for it and don't look at it.
Why is that, Dr. Moore? Why are I'm shocked to find out that there are still so many people giving these things to children. And I wonder who that is. But why is this happening, and how do we fix it?
Look, I think there's a certain amount of apathy, and then there's also a large measure that we truly believe that our government and our agencies are still looking out for us and looking out for our best interests. And I think that our education system has been co-opted and ruined to not allow people to think anymore. They're telling you what to think as opposed to how to think. And that starts when you're in preschool, and I don't think medical schools are any different. Everybody out there is controlled by pharma. Our government politicians are controlled by pharma. Our medical organizations are controlled by pharma. The media is controlled by pharma. And all of our journals are controlled by pharma. It's crazy the amount of influence that they have, and I think that when you look at that and all that, that's where we are. And I think that we've been brainwashed into thinking that the stuff that we learned in medical school is the end all be all, and that's the smartest thing, and that you're going to be the smartest thing if you just follow all of those things. And now, at least for me, with my kind of review and objective look at it and kind of taking a step back and seeing everything, I just realized how fallacious that really was. There's so much more out there. Doctors were always accused of playing God in a lot of ways and having a God complex. And yet in this scenario here, especially with COVID, we had hundreds, thousands of people that had survived COVID, and yet we were telling them that they needed to get a shot. That just doesn't make any sense to me. We've been trying to pursue and search for Mother Nature's the same as what Mother Nature gives us in terms of immunity. And yet now, if you get your own immunity by surviving the COVID disease and everything else, they still want to give you a shot because they say that you're going to get better from it. That paradigm just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it's so horrific, Dr. Moore. Before we let you go, we're almost out of time in this segment, but are you optimistic that this can be turned around? And what are your recommendations for everyday Americans who are similarly alarmed by these developments?
Well, my recommendation for everyday Americans is to just only you look out for you. Okay. So do your own research. I know it's kind of like that saying has been kind of really undermined and demeaned. But you have to do your own research, and you have to realize that only you look out for you. The answer to your question as to whether we can fix this problem, I don't know. Part of me says that we should try to fix it, and the other part of me says we should just blow the system up and start over. But I don't know the answer to that. I'm really disillusioned and disappointed with our medical profession. We're supposed to be people that look at things objectively without having our emotions tied into it, and I think we've lost that in large measure. And we allow experts to tell us what to do, which is just wrong. I spent 25 years, I graduated medical school, it was 27 years. I graduated medical school in 1993, and up to 2020, I'll tell you that I went to the CDC website exactly 0 times, to get some, advice on how to practice medicine. So I think we need to kind of go back to based on your own experience, learn how to think, learn to have some discernment and some critical thinking skills, and we'll be a lot better off.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And having watched the last few years here, it's hard to disagree with the conclusion that it may be too far gone. We may just have to start from scratch. Dr. Moore, where can people follow your work? Is there any place where people can learn more?
So yeah, since all of this happened, my only social media is at More22K was on X, but we have Dr. Kirk Moore on Facebook and Instagram now that are in there, and we're putting up all of our media appearances. We have a Give, Send, Go that's helping us hopefully collect some of our funds that we've lost in legal expenses, which is GiveSendGo/Fight for More, FIGHT, the number 4, and then More, MOORE. So that's where you guys can reach out and help us out. Thank you.
Very good. Well, Dr. Kirk Moore, thank you for standing up for those children and those families that did not want these things. Thank you for joining us today, and I hope we can talk to you again very soon.
Yeah, Alex, anytime. I really enjoy speaking with you. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Have a good one. All right, folks, stay with us. We've got another segment coming up in just a moment after this quick message from our sponsor. Stay tuned.
Say hello to Trimrocks by VNI. A playful and popping way to boost metabolism and mood, burn belly fat, and balance your systems. Pop some Trimrocks. Feel the fizz, feel the fun, feel the rush, feel the focus, feel the burn. A daily dose of metabolic nutrition in confection form. VNI's metabolic complex is as efficacious as it is effervescent. Made with our blend of proprietary ingredients that have been clinically proven to increase fat burn, reduce abdominal and arm fat, reduce waist and hip measurements, boost metabolism, mood, and immunity, improve endurance, and reduce stress, to name a few. Trimrocks is a holistic and happy way to support your metabolism. And because it is from VNI, you know that it has been protozoan for optimal absorption, delivering the stellar nutritional payload in a playful way that you will look forward to, ripping and roxing every day. Rocks your way to trimmer, slimmer, vim, and bigger. Nutrition packed, science backed, benefit stacked. VNI, we will rox you.
Welcome back to the Sentinel Report. Alex Newman, your host here. Folks, we have a rhino infestation in Washington, D.C. If you're a regular viewer or listener to this show, you know that very well. I would argue that the rhinos are an even bigger problem than the Democrats. At least we know where they stand. They openly tell you they want to take your guns, trans your children, start a bunch of wars, forcibly inject you with all kinds of stuff, get involved in every other war. I mean, they never met a war they didn't want to send your kids to go die in. But we've got a lot of these on the supposed Republican side of the aisle as well. Probably none more prominent than Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina. We've got a video of him actually admitting that he's an internationalist at, of course, the Council on Foreign Relations. This was just shared recently by our next guest. But I want to show you that before we go to our guest. Check this out.
Here's what I hope would not happen. That in the process of trying to get this deal approved by the UN, you break a relationship between the Congress and the United Nations itself. I'm an internationalist when it comes to the Republican Party's foreign policy. I'm in charge of the 150 account, the Foreign Operations Subcommittee, all foreign aid, all money that we spend on the UN. I wanted that job because I think it is a tool to enhance our national security. The last thing I want is to be put in a box where I have to take the UN on.
Yeah. Wouldn't want to take on the UN, that lovely collection of mass murderers, gangsters, dictators, and kleptocrats. Oh, heaven forbid. Our next guest is about to unseat Lindsey Graham, at least we hope so. His name is Mark Lynch. He's a successful businessman in South Carolina. He is a man of faith, and he is in a very good position, I believe, to finally remove Lindsey Graham from Congress. Mark, welcome to the program. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Yes, thank you, Alex, for having me on, and thank you for what you're doing every day to help this great country get back, get righted again.
honor and a great pleasure to be able to do it. Mark, you are not a globalist. I mean, you shared that video of Lindsey Graham. I'm glad you did. I didn't have that. I've got a lot of globalist videos, but not that one. What do we make of that? I mean, is that what he's telling voters right now in the primary campaign in South Carolina?
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't hide it. You know, he's advertising that he is a globalist and an internationalist. I'm America first. I'm not internationalist first. You know, I'm not for UN. We need to get out of that organization. That's an unconstitutional, agenda that they have, and they're controlled by some of the worst terrorists in the world that own the majority share of the voting rights in that organization. And we need to protect our sovereignty right here at home. We don't need the rest of the world dictating to America what we need to be doing, you know, like disarming the citizens or getting the clot shots or whatever they tend to do, or erase our history in our schools so we can't learn how this great country was founded.
Yeah, I think that's one of our really significant problems is that so many Americans have no idea about our history, about the sacrifices that our forefathers went through, even what they tried to do. You've got a new ad that's extraordinary. I want to air it. We just saw you recently on with Steve Bannon. Great work there, Mark. But I want to air your ad, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit more about some of these issues. But let's roll that.
Okay.
Tell Donald Trump to go to hell.
That's Lindsey Graham. He's been in D.C. 30 years.
If you can't admire Joe Biden, you got a problem. What's not to like?
Budget-killing inflation, skyrocketing home prices, illegal aliens taking American jobs, low pay, cost of living through the roof. Even Donald Trump blames himself for Lindsey Graham.
What's not to like?
You, Lindsey, we don't like you.
I'm Mark Lynch, and I approve this message.
Excellent ad, sir. I can't imagine a genuine Republican primary voter seeing that ad and then still going to pull the lever for Lindsey Graham. Let's talk about some of these issues. I mean, we talked about globalism. I couldn't agree with you more about the danger of these international institutions to our sovereignty. But what about domestic policy? I mean, government's gotten pretty large. The budgets continue to grow. Taxes are out of control. And of course, Lindsey Graham's been right there helping the whole time. What's your vision for the federal government in the United States? What should the federal government be doing? Where would we cut?
Well, when I get in, I'll form a Senate subcommittee to track and vet and stop it at the gate un-American activities that are unconstitutional, that don't line up with God's word. And that's the way this country was designed, Alex. You know that. The inflation that we're currently in is a big reason that I want to get in to stop that with all the un-American agencies that we formed. That's against the Constitution, that's way outside the enumerated powers that our elected officials have rights to be doing. We need to get rid of all that, dismantle them, and end it, and bring the money back into the country. I'm so thankful of Trump's tariffs that's going to equalize cost from foreign countries importing their goods into our country. That's going to make American manufacturers come back home and start employing Americans again. That's America first. You know, we've allowed our industries to be stolen from us, and I'm glad we're taking them back and giving incentives to get back here in this country. It just makes all the common sense in the world to be doing that, and I'm glad we have a president that's attacking that in the way that he is.
Yeah. And Mark, before we let you go, we're almost out of time in this segment, but this is a very significant fight you are taking on here. I mean, Lindsey Graham has been in the Senate for a long time, super well connected with the establishment. The guy's got, campaign money coming out his ears. You have put quite a bit of money into your own campaign. You're raising a lot of money as well. It looks like people believe that you have a real shot at unseating him here. What's the battle plan? How do you take out one of the most deeply entrenched rhinos in the U.S. Congress?
Well, we're going all over the state educating everybody. Our TV commercials are running. That's the second one that's going to start after Labor Day weekend and run for several weeks. And it's just getting people to understand who Lindsey is and some of his voters, to switch them over, because if we say we really are Republicans out there, we got to look at his lifetime voting record of 57%. He's failing as a Republican. Obama's campaign admitted that he would be the greatest ally ever to the Democrat Party, and that's who he is. He's betrayed all of us in South Carolina. He's betrayed America. He's betrayed Donald Trump, stabbed him in the back. We showed that at the opening of that TV commercial where he tells Donald Trump to go to hell. That's who he is. It's time for him to go. And we're not going to let that history get changed, just like we're fighting to save our children's education about the history of our country. We're going to make sure people understand Lindsey's history, and then they can make a clear decision, and then it's a no-brainer. And it doesn't matter how much money he has then. When you're a bad product, you can't pay for people to take it.
Amen. As they say, money doesn't vote, people do. And folks, I encourage you, go to thenewamerican.com. Look at, if you're in South Carolina, or even if you're not and you want to get involved somehow, check out his voting record. As Mark Lynch just alluded to, he has a failing score on the Freedom Index. And it's a very simple index. Did you vote according to the Constitution or not? Every member of Congress should have 100%. They all put their hand on a Bible. They took an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution, and then they vote against it. And Lindsey Graham, unfortunately, is one of the worst. So get to thenewamerican.com. Check out Freedom Index. Just click on that Freedom Index button. Look at Lindsey Graham's voting record. Forget what he says on the campaign trail, because it's easy to talk on the campaign trail. It's a whole different thing to vote constitutionally. Mark, where can people learn more about your campaign? How can people follow you on social media?
Yes, join us in this fight. Go to Lynch for Senate, F-O-R, lynchforsenate.com. You can see us on X and on Facebook, and sign up, contribute, pray for us most of all. And if you want to join our campaign, if you live in South Carolina and want to help, sign up on the volunteer page and tell us how you'd like to help us, and we'll be in contact with you as we get the ground teams working. We can do this, and it takes all of us.
I think you can, Mark, and I'm looking forward to calling you Mr. Senator here very soon. Thank you very much for being involved.
Amen.
Thank you for spending some time with us today. I'll look forward to seeing you soon, and God bless you, sir. Thanks again.
God bless you, Alex. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, folks, that is all we have time for today on the Sentinel Report. But I do want to thank you for tuning in. I want to encourage you to share this with other people. If you're hearing us on the radio, get over to libertysentinel.org. We've got all the archives there. Also, sign up for our free newsletter. It's at libertysentinel.org/subscribe. You're going to get all the critical information for protecting your health, your family, your wealth, and most importantly, your liberty, your country, and your church. All delivered right to your inbox for free at libertysentinel.org. That's all we have time for today. Alex Newman here for the Sentinel Report. We really appreciate you. Tune in again next week. Until then, thank you, and God bless you all.